Hi, this is Roshan from Sweet Eve Signs, and today I'm bringing you part 2 of the assembly video for this light up and movement cake topper. Be sure to watch part 1 of the design tutorial first. The materials that you will need for this project are cardstock, acetate, vinyl and transfer tape, foam tape, foam stickers in different sizes, glues including hot glue, non-stick scissors, shaker mix, a wobbler, a balloon light, and an acrylic stick. All the supplies are linked in the description below. Let's start with making our shaker. So you're going to grab all of your circle bits that make up the frame of your shaker. Let's start with the outer circles first. So I'm going to use Barely Arts glue and I'm going to apply small dots. This just makes sure you have the right amount of adhesive. And then I'm going to apply it to the second layer. I'm just lining it up and making sure I'm happy with it. And then I'm going to apply the second layer to the third layer, but this time for some dimension, I'm going to apply some small foam stickers. I'm also going to reinforce these with some glue. You will see me do this throughout the tutorial. This is an optional step, but I like to do it just to make sure that nothing's going to fall off. Then I'm just going to repeat the process with the inner circles. Now you can see this inner part is where your shaker mix is going to go. So now we need to grab the backing. And I'm going to use some foam tape. If you're in the US, you can get a slightly thinner version of this, but in the UK, this is the thinnest that we can get. And I'm just going to cut it to length, kind of roughly working out how much I need, but I would always say cut a bit more than you need rather than a little bit less. Oh, I just had a bit of acetate hidden behind here, so let me remove that. And then I'm going to apply my foam tape along the outer edge of the backing. And if there are any gaps, I'm just going to fill them in, but making sure that I'm not leaving any gaps in between the areas where I'm adding a new bit of foam tape. Otherwise, you will have things leaking out. Then I'm going to repeat the process with the inner circle. So again, just going around until they meet and making sure that I'm leaving no gaps. So now I'm going to apply my shaker mix. I'm just using a mixture of different beads, sequins, tube confetti. Some of them are linked in the description below. Just push everything into the center before you start to remove your foam tape border. And now we're going to remove the cover very, very slowly. What you'll find is that some of the bits will probably just jump up. Even if you're quite careful, this does happen. It's fine, don't worry about it. Now I made a bit of a mistake here. I put my acetate straight down, and actually you do need to clean your acetate first, especially if you're using tube confetti. I do this using a window cleaner, and then I just use some kitchen towel to kind of wipe and dry it. Now just apply your acetate, just make sure it's lined up, and I like to use a brayer. I find that it's a good way to make sure that the foam tape adheres to the acetate, and that making sure that there's no leaks. So just check that first before you proceed. Then you're going to add your frame on. On reflection, this was kind of the second time I was making this, and I would say probably it's best to start with the inner circle first. And you want to check that there is no foam tape visible. So you can see here that if you put the frame down, there's still some foam tape sticking out, which looks super messy. So just go around and very, very carefully trim the foam tape down until you can see that there is no visible foam tape. And then I usually just hot glue half of the frame, just because the glue just dries so fast. And then I go in and I do the other side. And then I repeated the process with the inner part, doing exactly the same, looking for any foam tape that's sticking out and then just trimming it. But I found that because I'd already put the outer border on, it was a little bit difficult to bend, but I was able to do it in the end. And then I just added the hot glue again in 2 parts. And that's your shaker done. It's pretty simple, but I really think it's quite effective. Now let's do our text. So I'm just going to get all my pieces out first and make sure I've got all my text and my numbers ready to go. And I always start off by lining up and making sure that I have things in the right place before I start to stick down, especially when I'm working with quite a thin offset like this one. I did mention in my design tutorial that it wasn't as thick, the offset, as I would have liked. So maybe if you're doing a design, just make it slightly bigger than I had originally suggested. But I just go in with the Barely Arts glue and I just apply the first layer to the second layer, just using glue, so no foam stickers. You can use foam stickers, but it's super thin. Remember also there's often some very little small bits here, so I've got the bit of the A and I keep them just in a little container. And then I apply the second layer to the third layer, but I will actually be using foam stickers for this. So these are very thin foam stickers, and then just reinforcing them with glue. But again, that step is optional. And then I will just repeat this process for the final few layers. You can see here I'm using slightly larger foam stickers that may need to be trimmed down. Just using different foam stickers on all of the layers will just give a different dimension. And it just makes your life easier than working with the little tiny ones. If you can use slightly bigger ones, it's just less fiddly. So now I'm going to add my backing, which is a duplicate of the last layer, and I'm going to use foam stickers for this. Again, it just creates that additional dimension. This one didn't want to play ball, so I just put hot glue. And there you go, that's your text done. So now we're just going to repeat the process with the age. So you've got the split text here, so I'm just going to apply the bottom part to the first layer, and then I'm going to use some foam stickers to apply the first main layer to the second layer. So the first part, which is split, you're going to just add directly onto the number just with glue, and then you're going to repeat with foam stickers until you get to the last offset. This wasn't going to plan, you can see I ended up doing it all back to front, but then I just used hot glue because it just wasn't staying on, and then I realized I put it the wrong way round, so I had to stick it on again. But you know, I like to show you how things happen in real life. So eventually I just stuck them all down with hot glue because I just found that my Barely Arts glue just was very slippery for some reason, and then I just applied my backing, and that was my number done. So let's work on the Spider-Man. So as I used a black glitter card that had a white core, I know this is terrible, but in the UK we don't have any other options. So you can see that some of it didn't cut very cleanly. So I'm just going in and I'm just removing any of the white inner core of the cardstock that you can see sticking through. And then I'm just going to use my Belly Arts glue again. I'm just going to apply some small dots, and I'm going to apply that directly to the second layer. And I'm just cleaning up any bits that might come out again as I stick down. And then I'm going to apply the second layer to the third layer, and I'm going to use some foam stickers to attach this. And I would recommend definitely using hot glue for this, because this is your wobbler. The kids are going to be playing with it. You want to make sure it's secure. So then I'm just going to apply my backing, and it's pretty straightforward, but it's really, really impactful. So there's my Spider-Man. Isn't he great? So next, let's move on to Black Panther. It's a very similar process, but with this one, you start off with the foam stickers from the very first layer. So apply foam stickers on the first layer to attach to the second layer, and then you just do your backing. So again, very straightforward, but it completely does the job. And there you've got your Black Panther. So now we're going to do our Thor hammer. So I'm just going to get all my pieces out that I need, including my acetate. And I'm going to start by applying my vinyl. So I'm going to apply the wooden part of the hammer to the silver part of the hammer using vinyl and transfer tape. You could do this with cardstock, but it would be extremely fiddly. I like to use a scraper because it just helps me to connect things a little bit better. And I just found that I didn't place something in the right place here. I think I stuck it a bit too far down, so I just removed it and added it again. And then I'm just going to repeat the process for the main part of the hammer. What I would say is that if you could have a slightly darker silver here, this probably would have been better. I was just working with the cardstock that I had, but you can get a bit more dimension if you maybe use a darker cardstock to put your vinyl on. And now I'm going to apply my offset, which is just a very thin offset, and I'm going to use some foam stickers. Don't go too crazy here on the foam stickers, only use one layer because you need to be able to allow space for your light to be able to poke through. So don't go crazy with offsets on this. And then this is a balloon light. You can see that you just remove the tab, and you can get them in different colors. This is a solid white, but they come in flashing colors as well, and solid colors. And once you remove that tab, you will have the light go off for 24 hours. But if you lose that tab, the light will then die. So always suggest to clients that they try to retain that. Now do your acetate before your light, but I'll show you how to do the light. So you need to apply hot glue around the hole. You need to work quickly, and then put it in and hold it in place. And then I like to go around the outside with hot glue just to make sure it's totally secure. Now let's move on to our lightning. So you can see that this might be a little bit hard to line up. So I usually make sure that I've lined it up first before I get anything onto the transfer tape. I just want to show you that I've got two different types of acetate here. The first one is the one that I generally use for shakers. And then I have a much thicker acetate, which is the one that I like to use when I am working with floating elements. So I'm just going to get transfer tape, and I didn't have a piece big enough to cover all of this vinyl, but you may well have a piece that's big enough. And then I just go around and just line it up and add my lightning to my acetate. Now you can see, because I've already put my light down, I actually can't get this on, so I need to cut a hole. But if you do it the right way around, you won't need to do this. And then just apply it with hot glue. Use hot glue for all elements here. Now that's the Thor hammer done. This is going to be a total showstopper. Remember, put the tab back in, don't lose it, please. Okay, so now we're going to work with our acetate, and we're going to do our web and our spikes. So again, I'm just going to line this up, and I'm going to put the image behind just so I can see exactly where I should be putting it. And then I'm going to use my transfer tape to apply the vinyl to the acetate, making sure that I use my scraper, and I will just repeat the process with the spikes for the Black Panther. If yours overlap, you would just need to do this in 2 parts. And that's your web and your spikes done. So now we're going to work on the backing, which is what's going to give our topper its sturdiness, but also is going to help us to put our elements in exactly the right place. So I'm just putting my shaker down. I'm just trying to work out where everything's going to sit before I start applying my different elements. And here, I made a mistake. In my design tutorial, I forgot to tell you to slice a circle in here. So if you haven't, you just need to cut out a circle to make sure that your light can fit through. Then I'm going to use some foam stickers and I'm going to attach my shaker to the backing, and that will just give me a little bit more dimension. And make sure that for this you use hot glue, because this is the foundation, the strong part of your topper, so you want it to be super secure. Now we're going to try the wobbler, and actually this is my first time using one, so work with me guys, see how this works in reality. They're called Wobble's Action Springs. The link is in the description. I think they come in different sizes, but I could only find one. And you just want to stretch it out. It just kind of makes it go a little bit higher, but just be careful, don't pull too hard. And then I was just trying to put him on and work out where I kind of wanted the wobbler to be positioned. And then you're going to peel off your backing, and you're going to also apply hot glue because you want to make sure that it's really secure. So apply the hot glue, and then again just kind of pull it out a little bit. And now I'm going to put my Spider-Man on the top part. Again, you just remove the backing here and apply hot glue to make sure that it's secure. And you can see it's starting to wobble already. So it's really cool effect. I really was so pleased with it. And I was kind of looking at it, and you maybe can't see from this angle, but the back of the Spider-Man's head was kind of dropping down because the other part of it was risen. So I was just putting a few foam stickers just to make sure that it's all level. And that's your wobbler done. So now I'm just going to add my Black Panther. And I'm going to add foam stickers to give him a little bit of height. I'm doing 2 layers because I kind of want him to be level with the Spider-Man, or kind of slightly level with the Spider-Man. And now I'm just looking at my last couple of elements. I'm going to add my text, and I'm going to use foam stickers. I'm going to need to apply the foam stickers where the text would meet the shaker. So I'm just kind of adjusting and cutting to size, definitely using hot glue for this. And then I'm going to add foam stickers on at the last letter, just because otherwise it will fall down and be quite flat. And now we're going to add our Thor hammer. So for this, I'm going to add some foam stickers to make sure that it's level because the shaker is risen. So I ended up doing 3 layers of foam stickers, but you may need to use more or less depending on how you've positioned your other elements and what type of foam stickers you're using. But again, you want everything to be level, so just check that it's level before you apply any hot glue, and make sure that you're kind of positioning it in the right place, which would be directly in line with the shadow that you've got. And also make sure before you hot glue that the tab is accessible. So I just turned it around because I just found it easier to hot glue from the other side, but you could also hot glue from the front. And I applied a few more foam stickers just to make sure that it was completely even, and just adjusted it until I was happy with where it was sat. And again, I just checked the light because I always get paranoid. So now I'm going to add on my acetate. So the acetate just goes directly on the back. So you might need to look at your design for this because you don't actually have any reference for where this goes. And I like to use Beacon's 3-in-1 glue for this because this glue is very slidey and it doesn't dry straight away like hot glue. So it just means that it gives you time to adjust. I never use hot glue directly on acetate. I just find it too messy and you can't change it once you've got it down. So it could end up ruining your whole topper. And then I just made some final adjustments. I felt like this hammer at the bottom could sit a bit higher, so I just added some foam stickers. and just made a few more adjustments until I was happy with where everything was positioned. And then I'm going to add the age in. You need to be careful because you might find that your lightning is coming down a bit, but I just added this directly with hot glue. I didn't use any foam stickers. I kind of like the way that it sat back, but you could use foam stickers if you wanted to make it pop out a bit more. Now I'm just going to apply my stick. I like to use an acrylic one, and I'm just going to turn it around to see exactly how much I need to add in terms of hot glue, making sure that you cannot see the stick through the acetate at the top where the number is. Then I just apply some hot glue and I put it on. You've got a few seconds where you can kind of adjust it. I just hold it in place. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe. It will help me keep this content free for you guys. And follow me on Instagram, TikTok and Pinterest for different types of content. Here are some other tutorials that you might also find helpful. Bye!